Hey guys, my name's Frank, and this is my workshop. All right guys, back on the Cadet Dozer project, and in the last episode we modified the two differentials, turned them into Dozer drives, as I'm calling them, welding a spider and free spinning, freewheeling one of the axles in each rear end. Today I'm working on the second hydro. I told you I wasn't gonna. I told you I wasn't gonna do this on camera, but I discovered something that I thought was interesting. I took the, I pulled the ported hydro and transaxle out of this end of the frame. The transaxle with the disc rotors, disc brake axles sitting over there. I pulled the hydro off, put it on the bench, pulled the cover off, and discovered this situation with this. This is the pump section, so this is what's driven by the engine, and you can see that all these slipper feet are damaged. They're like worn down. They're in really bad shape. I mean, it's destroyed. This whole piston block is destroyed. Now, I've seen damaged piston blocks in hydros before, but usually it's from towing where they get all jumbled up and crush each other. In this case, they're all worn flat. So my hypothesis, and I don't know for a fact, but makes sense, that this is due to running the hydro without fluid, and someone had insufficient fluid in the hydro and ran it, and I'm going to say for an extended period of time. I mean, it would take some time for the fluid to run dry and cause this much damage to the pump section. The motor section looks fine. I mean, it looks like it never turned. So that's my hypothesis for what's happened here. Insufficient fluid ran the hydro for some period of time to cause this damage. Now, that was the hydro that I was going to use, supported hydro that I was going to use on that end of the Dozer. Fortunately, I have another hydro that came off the second transaxle that I modified. It's not ported, but the difference between ported and unported is really just the cover. So what I'm using is I'm using the main housing and piston blocks from the other spare hydro, and I'm going to reuse the cover from the ported hydro. I'm going to use, this is the additional hydro that's not damaged. I've modified the swash plate in it already, similar to what we did to the other one. Reassembling it. I'm taking the valve plates that ran with these piston blocks out of the spare hydro, but this cover came off of the damaged hydro. So this is the cover that has the hydraulic ports on it. So I don't see a lot of debris or metal particles or anything. This is all brass or bronze. It's soft metal. It looks like they basically just deformed in place. But in any case, I'm going to flush this section of the hydro out. This is off the damaged hydro, and then we're going to install it on the main portion of the spare good hydro. So basically, building one good hydro from from the two. All right, well, so that's where I am. We'll come back when we start doing some more work on the frame and reassemble the other hydro. I've got this rear end completely reassembled. This was the first hydro we modified, one of the Dozer drives. This is the other Dozer drive, completely assembled with the exception of the hydro on it. Once I get the hydro on this other one, I'm going to take both of these Dozer drives out and pressure wash them, clean them up. Might even get ambitious and put a coat of paint on them. Meanwhile, I'm waiting for a gasket to put this hydro back together. I'm going to do some work on the frame, and we'll see how that goes. All right, you notice I cut off the foot pedals, foot pad support, and the brake pedals. So, working on cleaning up the frame here. I'm going to smooth out these welds a little bit. Here comes my butchie. You don't want me to do that probably when you're in here, do you? All right. The boys are in the shop with me now. The boys are with me in the shop now because they can't go outside. There's a contractor here working in the backyard, and I can't let the dogs out in the yard while they're here working. And they've been here for a couple weeks. They got at least another week or 10 days of work to do before. So these guys they get out in the morning for half an hour before they come, and then they stay in here all morning while they're working. And when the workers go to lunch, these guys get to go outside. And and then after, of course, they quit at about 3 o'clock. So then the boys get to go outside after 3. We have a big fenced yard, about an acre fenced. So they spend a lot of time outside. But of course, the shop here is air conditioned. They spend a lot of time in here, especially in the summer. You being a good puppy? Yeah, these are my good boys. My good puppies. All right. Well, maybe I won't make so much noise since you guys can't escape and go outside. Maybe I'll do something else for a while. All right. We'll pick back up once I can let these guys outside. Maybe while the dogs being restricted indoors for the time being, a little while, I'll show you something that I just put together this morning. This is a fixturing table that I bought from Langmeyer Systems, which is the same company that makes the CNC plasma table that I purchased, and I'm still waiting for the plasma torch for. But in any case, they sell this fixturing table. This is cast iron, and it's square and flat, and it's got 5/8 inch holes. I guess they're 5/8 inch holes spaced throughout, every like 2 inches on center, and it's got pretty good square, like 3-inch square tubing. I put it on casters here. So I bought this because after I bought this one, now this is very different. This one came from Northern Tool, and you can see it's just a piece of 1/8 inch steel that's been drilled. Looks like basically the same hole pattern or similar hole pattern, maybe not quite 2 inches. Anyway, very similar, but it's just a flat plate. The one thing they do give you with this table for a couple $100, $150 I think, or a couple $100 anyway, is a whole bunch of fixturing clamps. This table doesn't come with any fixturing clamps, and it's quite a bit more expensive. So this is called arc flat, the Langmuir arc flat fixturing table, and it's modular. You could bolt several sections or as many sections of this together as you want, really. You buy the legs and the tabletops separately, so you could bolt 2 of these together and just put 4 legs on it. It'd be fine. It is quite heavy. This weighs 100, the top alone weighs 150 pounds. So I was using my engine hoist, my cherry picker, to move it around and put the legs on it and get it feet down. So this gives me a little more workspace for welding. I put my cold cut saw on this one. It's amazing how every square inch of space you create in your shop, every cubic foot of space you create in your shop gets sucked up immediately by stuff. So I actually put 2 shelves under this, mounted 2 separate shelves under this table, and it's full. I am eventually going to put shelves under this table as well. I haven't figured out exactly what I'm going to do there yet, but you know, it's storage space is always at a premium. Okay, I just wanted to share that with you. I haven't used it. I don't have any association with Langmuir systems or anything. So I did. We'll show you one other thing before I go. I did get a machine torch for the plasma table. So this is, rather than clamping the handheld torch in a fixture here, this is a machine torch. So it's specifically designed for a CNC table, and it came from Langmuir Systems. I don't know whether it's a Hypertherm or it takes the same consumables as the torch that comes with the razor weld plasma cutter. So the plasma cutter, razor weld 45, which is what I purchased with this, is yet to come. Supposedly end of this month, so another week or 2. Anyway, thought I'd just show you that. All right, we'll get back on the frame here in a minute. All right, so I removed the drawbar so I can stand this up on its end on this platform. So that's the purpose for doing that. Well, I wasn't expecting this to happen. I left these bolts out and a bunch of fluid leaked out of the transmission. So I've got a big puddle. Well, that was a little bit of a surprise, but it's all right. Okay, so now I've got the frame completely detached from the transmissions. My original plan was not to do it this way. I was going to reassemble the hydro that I was working on earlier, attach it to a transmission, clean both of the transmissions, install one in one end, and then remove this one and install the other. But since I can't assemble that hydro because I don't have the gasket, I decided to go ahead and shift my attention to the frame itself. I'm going to sand it a little bit more, wipe it down with acetone. I've got to weld the angle iron reinforcements to the bottom. I'll do that, and then I'll prime it and paint it. And that way I'll get that at least that part of it out of the way. All right, I'm getting ready to weld the reinforcements to the bottom of the frame. I have the frame upside down here. Going to tack it and then weld it off. All right, so that's a pretty good bead. That piece of angle iron is stronger than the whole frame, so it's not going anywhere. All right, so we'll let those welds cool. Next thing I need to do is wipe down the frame with some acetone and hit it with a coat of primer and then paint. And what I use for all my or at least most of my Cub Cadet painting efforts is this Rust-Oleum rust reformer. So it converts rust. So when I first started working on Cub Cadets, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, I was grinding the metal down, grinding everything, all the rust down to bare metal, sanding it, getting down to bare metal, and then priming. I found that this rust reformer primer works really well. I mean, you don't have to get all the rust. You need to get all the loose surface rust off, but it converts the rust to magnetite. It's like navel jelly, same idea, and then you can paint over it. Now it's black, but a couple coats of the yellow and it disappears. So that's what I've been using for, I don't know, 7 or 8 years at least. On all my Cub Cadet restorations, and it seems to work really well. I have yet to have a single spot. Maybe 6 or 7 tractors painted this way, and I have not seen a spot where it's started rusting again, rusted through. So from what I can tell, it's pretty effective. I got no affiliation with them, but just to be clear, anyway, it seems to work real well. All right, we'll let this cool. We'll come back and do some more work on it. Here's where I am now. I've got the frame reinforced. All of the bare metal and rusty spots have been primed with my Rust-Oleum rust reformer. So the frame is ready to be painted. So I'll take that outside, put on some sawhorses, and paint the frame. The first hydro that we modified, this is the rear Dozer drive and hydrostat. So that's ready to put in the frame. It's all been cleaned, degreased, and then wiped down with solvent and then painted. So this is Caterpillar yellow, and that's what I'm going to use for this project. This is what I used on my motor grader. This is, we have a local Ace hardware store. This is Caterpillar yellow gloss. So this is relatively inexpensive. It's a fairly good sized can. It has good coverage. So this is what I'm going to be using for paint on this project. That's what I used on my motor grader. It worked out fine. It's not Cub Cadet yellow. Cub Cadet yellow, you know, buying International Harvester paints, the Iron Guard paints, is pretty expensive at like $18 a can. So this is a fairly close match. It's not quite the same. Maybe you can, you know, see a difference between the Caterpillar yellow here and the Cub I mean, there's definitely a little difference there, but from a distance, you know, it's not that great. I don't think anybody will care. So at least it's my tractor, and I'll paint it like I want to. All right, so we'll come back tomorrow. We'll work on the frame some more. The next step, and I'm still waiting on the gasket for the other hydro. I'm afraid it's going to be a week, and it may not even make it into this episode, unfortunately. But I will start reinforcing this frame on the top. So the next step is to run 2x4 square tubing around the top of this frame and offset wider than the frame. So what that does is it creates a space to hold the engine. So I'll explain some more of that when we get started on that. That'll probably be coming up in the next day or two. Okay. We'll be back in a little while. Thanks. Got the frame, the first coat of paint on the frame, brought it back inside. We'll let it cure. It's not a final coat. I'm going to have to grind spots in order to weld to this frame, but I like to get a coat of paint on it just to keep it from rusting. All right. And one thing we can do is work on this transaxle, this Dozer drive that we've got assembled here, the modified hydro, and this we're going to fill it full of fluid. We're going to drive it with a drill to verify that it works properly. So let's put some fluid in it. The normal way to add fluid or to put fluid in these rear ends is to remove this plug and put in fluid until it comes out of this plug. But it takes a long time to pump the fluid in that way. It's just as easy, since this is accessible here, is to remove this cover and pour the fluid in here until it comes out that hole. So that's what we're going to do. Rear end takes, spec says 7 quarts. I can hear it running into the hydro. I can hear the fluid draining into the hydro. So this is the drive adapter I use. It's a piece of 1 inch, been bored out to 5/8. It has some 1/4 inch machine screws. It fits over the shaft. And then it has this 5/8 is turned down to 1/2 inch here at the end, lets me drive it with a drill. All right, so we have to drive this counterclockwise. All right, it takes a few minutes for the fluid pressure to build up. I can feel some resistance. All right, so I can stop this axle from moving. So it looks like it's working as designed. This axle's driving. This axle can free spin and go the opposite direction. So anyway, that's working as designed, and we'll go over here and look at the drive here and the trunnion, and when I move the trunnion it should change the direction of rotation of that axle. It should be neutral in the middle. Okay, so I'm going to call that test a success. It's working as designed or intended. I didn't measure the speed in forward and reverse. Maybe I'll get to do that just to make sure that I get the same speed in both directions. But there's no reason why it shouldn't work that way. The other axle free spins. It feels like it has a little tendency to go with the other axle a little bit, and I don't know whether that's just fluid friction or what inside the drive, but certainly you can stop it with your hand and it won't make any difference when it's assembled. So you can see my arrangement for testing the hydrostat. I have the coupling on here chucked in the drill, and I can run the drill and it drives the hydrostat and drives the rear end. So that's the test method for any hydrostat that you might have that you need to test to make sure it's working. All right, well, that's going to be the end of this episode. Next time we'll pick up with attaching the Dozer drives to the frame. Hopefully I'll have my gasket to assemble the hydro and get that on the other Dozer drive and get that cleaned up and painted. We'll get that assembled into the frame. We'll test it like we just tested this one, and we'll go from there. I'm going to have a metal delivery. I discovered that the metal supplier near me actually delivers. Well, he's not near me, he's 100 miles away. I've been driving in to the nearest city here and picking up metal from the metal supplier, and it's almost 100 miles away. I live in a pretty remote area. I talked to him today, getting ready to make another trip and stock up on some metal, both for the plasma table and for this build. I discovered they deliver out here 3 times a week. So I think it's like a $15 handling charge. So I'm up with that. I need to get that order placed later today, and hopefully they'll deliver next week. That'll give us some metal to build the frame up here and make some more progress. I did cut the one piece of 2x4 rectangular tubing that I have, and the outside dimensions 15 inches and it's about 66 inches long. So that'll sit on top of this frame. It'll be cantilevered over because it's wider than the frame, and that'll give me the place for I'll build a ledge inside there to mount the engine on. This will support the seat, the hood over the engine, the seat, and whatever I decide to put behind the seat on there. Anyway, so that's going to be a little bit of progress, but that'll be on the next episode. So I appreciate you guys watching. Thumbs up would be appreciated, as well as a share if you've got friends. And if you haven't already subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. That way you won't miss the notification. Hit that notification bell. You won't miss upcoming episodes. So appreciate you watching. We'll see you guys next time.